Hello there, and welcome back to my humble little channel. And what have we got on the bench today? Well, we've got a R Cambridge T21 stereo FM tuner. Only FM, no AM. And this again was very kindly sent to me by Mike Racing Demon, and it's the matching tuner to the A60 amplifier that he sent me. So it's extremely nice for him to send me this. I don't think there's anything wrong with it as such. I think he just would have liked me to do a video on it, which is what I'm going to attempt to do. And I'd be very interested to see how sensitive it is, and I shall do a comparison with my Pioneer TX 9800 later on. So if we have a quick look at the front panel, we haven't got a conventional dial. There's no dial pointer, and I'll come around to that later. But what we have got is presets. We've got a manual tune button, and then we've got 5 presets. Now that immediately tells me it's got to be very cap tuned, which is the only way that you could do it easily to get presets. Apart from that, we've just got an AFC switch and a mono switch, and most of the time I'll be testing it in mono, and then we'll go into stereo later on. And I'll just try and turn it around. Right, so this is the back panel, and we've got, rather unusually, you don't see this very often on tuners, we've actually got an audio level control pot there, and I've only ever seen that on my Pioneer. But again, like the A60, it uses these horrible DIN plugs, but never mind. Mike sent me a DIN to DIN, so I can plug it into the A60 amplifier, which should be good. And then we can see the adjustments for the presets. So obviously you just tune those until you want your particular station you want stored in preset. And then we've got on the end a aerial connection for 75 ohm or balance 300. So fairly conventional in that case. So next thing I'll do is I'll get it turned around again and I'll turn it on. Okay, ready to turn it on, and I've got to connect it up to my, what is it, an Hitachi I think. It's a stereo receiver which I use in my workshop. Got it plugged into the tape input on that, and I've had to, let me just turn up the volume. So I've got it on mono at the moment. If I put it into stereo, it will mute the background noise, but I want to do just do a test in mono for the time being. And turn it off again. As you can see on the well, you might be able to see, that's the tuning dial. Now it's got no pointer, it relies on LEDs, and this is probably my main criticism of this thing. It's all very nice and clever and all that, having LEDs indicate the frequency as I tune across, as you see. But the accuracy is fairly poor. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to know exactly what frequency you're on. So that's obviously a stereo station. Stereo. Okay, and it also lights the green light up when you get to the correct tuning. It goes red on one side, red on the other side. But as I said, my main criticism is I think this tuning dial is, I mean, I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it look all funky and modern and whatever, but it's really not terribly good at indicating what frequency you're on.
Could live a good.
So we're back into mono.
Was sudden, violent, tearing you too soon from this world, so you were unable or unwilling
Now,
to find your way.
I haven't got any aerial connected at the moment. All I've got is this piece of cable, bit of cable, which is going up to my signal generator. So I already think it must be a pretty sensitive tuner. Signal generator's turned off, by the way. Because if I tune around,
Not just of Christian faith, carried to the shores
that's radio 4, which is a strong signal here anyway. But it's still pretty good picking that up. And that's probably Radio Gloucestershire, which is also quite strong here. But considering it's a screened cable connected to the signal generator, I think that's pretty impressive. I'll go up the band a bit. That, don't know what that is.
They say they can, but personal trainers can't be trusted.
Don't know what that is, some sort of commercial station.
I'm not
That's the signal strength indicator. This is almost certain one of my transmitters I've got running, FM transmitters, low power ones, that rebroadcast my amateur radio stuff so I can listen to it when I'm walking around the garden or the house. But that's beside the point. I reckon that's heart. Yeah, that'll be heart on 102.4. Again, it's pretty inaccurate. I think you'll agree. I've got the band a bit more. That one, as you see, is a strong one. That's also one of my transmitters. That's broadcasting Radio 6 music on FM. So, because I haven't got a DAB tuner, I fitted a little FM transmitter into a portable DAB radio. So, don't think there's anything else on there. We're up to 108 there. So, that's basically how it all works, but not terribly impressed with this LED idea of tuning. Put it on stereo again, and then it'll only receive the strongest signals. Well, considering it's just a piece of wire, and what happens if I plug the aerial out and plug the aerial all together? I bet it'll still pick up signals even like that.
And what happens is they
yeah, it's still picking up signals. Of course the top's not screened because it's a wooden top, but it does pretty I think it's going to prove to be a pretty sensitive tuner. And of course I can switch to preset mode, and right now I'm way up the band on that preset, and that one's down the bottom, and just nothing happens to be on those channels. So that's the way it works. Quite a clever little design, really. I think dating from the early 80s, about 82, 83, and I think we should have a look inside it now. Okay, that's what it looks like inside, and there are the preset resistors for multi-turn pots for the presets. This main tuning pot is a multi-turn pot, which is good because you never get the accuracy you need with a single turn pot. I'll mute it because it's making a hissing noise. I don't know whether Mike's done anything to this. It doesn't look as if it's had much done to it. They look almost like original capacitors. Over here, of course, we've got the power supply circuit, little toroidal. That's tip 3055 voltage regulator pass transistor, which gets fairly warm. That's the stereo output, obviously, pot, level control, and then we've got all sorts of weirdness going on in here. We've got numerous op amps, numerous op amps down there. Zoom in a bit. And those op amps are arranged as comparators, and they take in the tuning voltage from the varicap section, in other words the voltage that's going to the varicap diodes in the tuner module, and they do a comparison with the preset voltage on the other pin, and then they turn on the LED depending on what part of the band you're on. So they're probably dual op amps, and there's a hell of a lot of LEDs to turn on and off, so it's just doing a comparison on the input voltage from the varicap signal. And what else can we say? We've got an LM31, can't quite read that, 3189, not sure what that is, and CA131, that may be to do with the stereo decoder circuit. And then we've got this screen box, which you'll believe, bloody thing. This screen box is where all the RF magic happens. You'll have the input stage with the various tuning and local oscillator stuff going on. And if we have a quick look at the circuit, okay, this is the front end module that does all the RF stuff, and everything inside the metal cam, which is denoted by this dotted line. This is the complete front end. If we start at the front, we've got an inductor which can be adjusted manually, and it also forms part of the matching network for 75 ohm or 300, and then that is tuned by a varicap diode here. In fact, it's two varicap diodes back to back, but whatever, and they come off as a main line which comes from the actual tuning voltage, which will be generated by either the multi-turn pot or the presets. So that's what tunes these varicaps all the way along. There are manual adjustments as well for trimming it, obviously, and eventually the signal goes in up here to one of the gates of a dual gate MOSFET. Now, dual gate MOSFETs were very popular back in the 80s. There don't seem to be many around these days in designs, but I used them quite a few times in projects I made, and I've still got quite a few of them. And it's using a 2SK51, which is, I think, a fairly good MOSFET for the time, dual gate MOSFET. You could get ones that were fairly low noise and quite high gain at VHF. And then after it's been amplified in that first stage, it is again, let me see, tuned again with another pair of varicap diodes and this transformer, basically L2 L3 would be some sort of transformer coupling, and then it goes on to the third stage of tuning. So that will give it its selectivity in theory, and then that's tapped off and fed into the mixer. That'll be the mixer, another dual gate MOSFET, and they feed the signal in on one channel on one of the gates on the dual gate MOSFET, and the local oscillator, as far as I can tell, that's a local oscillator transistor, which will also be tuned by these pair of diodes here, and there's some trimming on the local oscillator. And where does its signal get into the FET then? Yeah, it must get in here. It comes off there of the local oscillator, goes up through that capacitor and goes into the gate 2 on the FET, and then it comes out presumably tuned to 10.7 in that coil. So that's what you want to, that's your IF 10.7, and then that's also coupled into this one, which is another part of the 10.7 circuit. And then, interestingly enough, to give it even more selectivity, they've got crystal filters, 10.7 crystal filter there. Then it's a bit of an amplification, and then it goes on to another crystal filter at 10.7. So in theory it should have pretty good selectivity as well. I think my Pioneer uses about 3 filters, or they're probably ceramic actually, not crystal. They'll be ceramic filters, because they don't need to be really sharp in bandwidth, just about 180 kilohertz bandwidth on those filters. So that's basically the front end. I don't really want to go into the rest of it particularly, although I could have a quick look. This will be the IF bit. IF amplifier coming in from the tuner module, and that be the tuning meter output. And what does it do after that? Goes to there, comes out of there, and that'll be the stereo decoder, the MCCA131. That'll be the stereo decoder, and then it's a very simple circuit. Just a bit of they're filtering. Obviously they've got filters on each channel. There's a left channel and a right channel, and they're probably filtering out the pilot tone at 19 kilohertz or whatever it is, and then that just goes through a basic amplifier. There's a that's the output level control. It just goes through an amplifier to the output. That's basically all it is, apart from the power supply, which isn't exceedingly boring. It's just a normal power supply with bridge rectifier, capacitor, bit of whatever going along down here. What's going on down there? Don't know. Don't care. Anyway, it's got a 25 volt output and also a 14.5 volt output. 25 volt output possibly for the varicaps, because they will need quite a high voltage to give maximum capacitance. No, minimum capacitance. The more voltage on the varicaps you put, the lower the capacitance is. So with 0 volts on them, they have maximum capacitance. So that's that then. So what should I do with it? Give it a signal test on the signal generator. That's what I'll do with it. Right, what I'm doing is I'm putting an 88 megahertz signal into it with about 6 microvolts, which is a fairly low signal, but it should hear this without too much problem. I'm holding the camera and the camera bracket, so I'm going to put it back in its socket. So that's a fairly horrible signal, and when I was testing it yesterday I thought, that doesn't sound right, and I was wiggling these cables that go to the signal generator around, and it was improving it, and it took me a while to work out what the hell it was. It's this bloody light I've got, which is a LED replacement for a normal fluorescent tube, so I'm going to turn that off. That bloody light, it radiates like hell. I've tried to filter it, makes no difference at all. So I suspect all the noise is coming out all the noise is radiating directly off the LEDs. But as I said, this is what am I doing? I'm trying to find something to put this thing on. Lift this thing up. So we've got an 88 megahertz signal, and it's just about reading on the signal strength meter, and tuning is correct. And I'm using a 400 hertz tone for a change. I got bored with 1 kilohertz, and I'm FM deviating at 70 kilohertz with 400 hertz tone. So I'm going to reduce that level, see when it sort of gets more distorted. Right, that is now obviously not a very good signal. It's a bit noisy, but that's only 1.5 microvolts. Now I consider that's pretty bloody good. In a minute I'll swap it and I'll put in my Pioneer and compare it. So that's 1.5 microvolts, or if you want it in dBm, where's dBm? Minus 103 dBm, that is. Back to microvolts. So I'd say that's a pretty sensitive tuner. With those dual gate MOSFETs, they were quite low noise and quite sensitive. So I'll just do a quick comparison with my Pioneer TX9800. Okay, this is the Pioneer TX9800, which I think is probably one of the best analog tuners ever made. Extremely sensitive, and cost around £300 back in about 1979-80. Extremely well designed and my favourite tuner. And as you can see, I've modified it so it's got a digital readout, which I thought looks rather nice. But this is with the same signal, 1.5 microvolts, and I don't think there's much difference between that and the T21, because I can switch this. Okay, what did I do wrong? Yes, I can switch this into narrow mode, which will give a slightly clearer, although then you get distortion because of the deviation is a bit high for narrow mode. But that gives you a bit of extra sensitivity when you switch into narrow filter mode. So in comparison, that R Cambridge tuner, I think, is not far off as sensitive as the Pioneer, which has always been my sort of reference. I'm quite impressed with that. So now what should we do? I'll have to go away and think about things. Well, I was thinking of doing an alignment on this thing, but I haven't got the service manual. All I've managed to obtain is circuit diagrams. So it would have been nice to have adjusted the various things that are under there, but I ain't going to go poking around in there without a service manual. So what I will do though is I shall squirt some switch cleaner on these, and also this one was this one over here was a bit noisy. So these are easy to get to. Right, that's those done. Give them a little twiddle. The main tuning thing, control, I can get some in there, that's quite easy, although it didn't seem to really need it. The output is a bit more difficult. Output level control is a bit more difficult. I might be able to get some in through the holes. But they are very small holes. Let's just try that. Actually, I don't need really that on. What I do need is well, that don't sound too scratchy, so that's fine. But I was looking at the specifications for this, and I could do a distortion measurement. It's quoted, what does it say on my phone? It's quoted at distortion, THD, better than go away. It's better than 0.15%. Okay, we'll try that. See what it reads. Right. Modulation. So according to the analyzer, it's got 5% distortion, which sounds a bit high. I'll turn that off. Could crank the volume up a bit. Makes no difference. That's too low. So, seems fairly high distortion, but as I said, I haven't really got any way of doing any adjustments. I don't want to start fiddling with it without the proper service manual. I mean, I'm pretty sure that my RF generator is low distortion on the modulation in 400 Hz modulation. So that, I think, is about it. Can't think of anything else much to do with it. What I'm going to do now is take it in the house and connect it up to the matching amplifier, and then we can have a listen to it. And in order to play some music, I'm going to have to do a bit of cobbling together. What did I do with my cobbling thing? Okay, I'm going to use this little FM transmitter. Then I can plug a CD player into it with copyright free music, and I've got a bit of wire on it. That's more than enough to be picked up by my aerial outside, and this thing produces about 5 milliwatts roughly. So that's what I'll have to do. I have to wire that up. Okay, here we are back in the lounge, and it's wired up to the matching amplifier. Connected to my Celestion Ditton 44s. So let's see what it's capable of doing. By the way, I've got my external folded dipole aerial connected to it, which also goes through a preamplifier, RF preamplifier, and then it's split into various outputs to go to different rooms in the house. So there's a fair bit of gain on that preamplifier. So here we go anyway. Radio 2. More radio 2. More radio 2. That'll be the local one, which is a relay. As you can see, the signal strength is massive on that. Radio 3. More radio 3. More radio 3. I noticed that the LEDs are a bit uneven in brightness, which is a shame. More radio 3. Radio 4. More radio 4 with stronger signal.
What can we do to stand up to them?
I'm in mono.
These people are all about. Watch this space.
That's right, got it in the green on tuning.
3 days, my
That's
blog
stereo.
had 128 views. My biggest audience.
Then it should mute twin channels. But because of the gain of the RF preamp, it sometimes won't mute.
Who's this?
Number 43.
More radio 4. Some horrible local station. Another horrible local station. Disco Inferno by the Tramps. I don't know what that is. Not interested. Mostly local stations around here. It's a big one. Blank carrier. It's probably me generating something. That'll be that hideous hard station, which I absolutely hate. Weak local. Probably from Wiltshire, somewhere like that. Not a lot else, by the looks of it. That is my Radio 6 music being retransmitted. We get up to 108, nothing up at 108. But now I'm going to turn my transmitter on, I can do a proper audio test. Right, I've set my little FM transmitter up in the shed and transmitting on 108, as you can see. Massive signal strength.
Why not take the time, concentrate on a positive scene for the future? Who knows what joy may lie around the corner? But whatever comes, we keep on trying. Ever come. can't wipe the tear from your eye. If I want to but can't cry, how come my face is dry? Worry never of anything. Despair nothing. Worry never of anything. Despair nothing. Worry never of anything. No. Despair nothing. Worry never of anything. No. Despair nothing. Why not take your time? Take your time. 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 Take your time. Concentrate on a positive scene for the future.
Okay, that's probably more than enough of that. It's probably not to everybody's taste. That's a sort of a local band, I know. So, in conclusion, I think it sounds great. I can't really fault it for the audio quality. And apart from the fact that I had it in mono for half that last track. But I think my main criticism with this thing is its tuning dial. I don't like that at all. And also the LEDs are looking a bit dim, some of them. I think if it was mine, I'd stick a digital frequency readout in this, because that'd be quite easy to do on that front panel. As I've done that to a few tuners. You can get these modules from China to do that. So that's about the end of the video, I think. They're still singing along. Yeah, they go on like this for hours and hours and hours. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, got something out of it, and thanks for watching. Bye for now.